5.5 example 2 says to find all solutions in the interval from 0 to 2 pi of the equation 2 sine of x minus pi over 4 plus 1 is equal to 2. So the first thing we need to do here is get it to where it's similar to what we had in the first example. You want the sine and that angle piece, what's in the parentheses there behind it. You want to get that by itself. So we need to get rid of the 2 in front and the 1 at the end. So let's just algebraically get the sine piece by itself. So we're going to subtract the 1. And then divide by the 2. And so we've got sine of x minus pi over 4 equals 1/2. Well, we're going to do the same thing from here that we did before. The only difference is I don't just have sine of x. I have sine of x minus pi over 4, and we'll deal with that more towards the end. So just like what we did before, we know we have sine, and it's going to be a positive 1/2. So sine is positive in quadrants 1 and 2. So we're going to have our quadrant 1 answer, and we're going to have our quadrant 2 answer. Now this time it's not sine of x, it's sine of x minus pi over 4. So, one other thing, remember sine is also your y value. So back to what I was saying there, instead of the x, now we have this. So we're going to put x minus pi over 4 equals, and then just like we did before, on the other side, we're going to put what angle is in quadrant 1 that has the y value that is a 1/2. And so when we look at that, that should be pi over 6. Now this one, notice, said between 0 and 2 pi. So we don't actually have to put the plus 2 pi in on it. We're restricted here. So then in quadrant 2, what angle has the y value that is 1/2? And that will be 5 pi over 6. And then all we have to do is actually solve for x. So we're going to add the pi over 4. And so we get x equals, now if you can do a common denominator, which remember would be 12. So this is 3 pi over 12 for the bottom one, and this is 2 pi over 12. So that gives us 5 pi over 12 for one of our solutions. And then we're going to add the pi over 4 to the other one here. I'm going to get my common denominator, so 10 pi over 12 plus 3 pi over 12. And so I got 13 pi over 12 for my other solution.